everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. I'm Josh, and today I'm going to be talking about The Children of Blood and Bone by Tori Adeyemi. It's the first book in the Legacy of Orisha series, so let's rekindle the magic of books. First off, we'll just try and keep it a little non-spoilery as much as possible before we get into the spoilers. So, I like the book. I give it about a 7 out of 10. It's a young adult book. It's enjoyable. It has some good themes and it has some good thoughts while still being in there enough to get you invested in all the characters. The characters I thought were excellent. I really enjoyed them. I thought the atmosphere was unique. It was an interesting world that she's built and that we are in. The writing was good. I don't really have too much to really dig deep into the writing on this one. Parts of it maybe were a little off, but for the whole, I don't think I really noticed any that I could point to, so it works really well. We'll talk about the plot more after we get to the spoilers, but as a generalization, I can just say that the world used to have magic, and then the Magi who had magic were attacked, and their connection to their magic was destroyed, or at least temporarily destroyed. The main plot of this book is that our main character is trying to bring magic back. I liked that part a lot. I thought that was really good. The intrigue, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? Felt a little rushed on some parts. Maybe I was just reading it really fast, but the whole story, or the whole length of the story, felt like it could have been stretched a little longer, or maybe had certain parts taken out and replaced with other parts. I don't know. I can't really say 100% for sure, but there was something there. I liked the magic, of course. It was a very cool system, bringing it back. I liked the unique names they had for each of them and the abilities. I really wish we'd been able to see more of the magic, and I know that this is the first in a series and that they are getting started and they don't have it, so how can they show it to us? But a little bit more on the magic side, and I think that would have made me a lot more excited for it. So I'm going to just say that I think that's good, and we're going to go into the spoiler section. But before I go, I just want to say I did enjoy this book. I read it right through. I didn't want to stop. So if the next few parts seem a little bit nitpicky or critiquey in a bad way, they're not. It's just, these are the things I noticed as I was kind of writing my review of it. So we're going to start again with characters. We have Amory, the princess, Zele, our main protagonist, the girl who's in the group of the Magi. She's the one we're mainly following the whole time. They have her brother, Zane, and we also have Enan, the prince, who is following them, trying to capture them. It's great. I thought their characterization was good. I loved the conflict that Enan and Amory have as brothers and sisters, forced to fight and to grow up strong, of course. I loved their kind of playing off with each other a little bit when they were in the same scenes after they kind of join up. I thought that the characters truly felt like siblings when they were with their siblings. So Zele and Zane really felt like siblings, the way they talked to each other and knew each other, thinking and doing. And Amory and Enan did as well, but a little less so, just because of the way they obviously grew up. So I like that. I like their characterizations. I thought the start of the story was really strong. Amory has seen one of her best friend, her servant, the only person she really knows, has been killed by her father because he exposed her to the magic scroll that can reforge the connection to the gods that they tried to get rid of, but it's back. And then they kill her, so she steals the scroll and is trying to escape because she wants to be free, she wants to get out. I thought that was great. They're being chased. Obviously, Enan is the crown prince is chasing them, trying to bring them back. Only little bit of a nitpick here is that sometimes it felt like they were being rubber banded, where you'd have our main protagonist pull forward, and they'd get so far, and then the king or the guards or whoever would rebound and catch up to them. And then they'd go a little farther, and then they'd rebound and catch up to them. So that's how it felt to me, and I did not really like that feeling that I was getting from it. They never pulled ahead. Now in the beginning, they have ways to explain it. Enan can kind of sense where she's going with his magic because he's connected with her, and so he could follow it that way. But then when he's there and they are here, they're like, oh well, some guards saw them and decided to follow these other people. Well, okay, that's a little iffy. He just happened to be ahead of us somehow and catch us here, and yeah, it worked in the story. But when I stepped back to look at it a little bit, I was like, they just got there. That was fast. That's okay. Now the other critique I have is the timing was very we have to go from here to here as fast as possible to make it before the solstice, which is in 7 days, and we're going to be on the run. How are we ever going to make it? Oh wait, let's throw a party. We can still make it if we throw one party, spend one night. This guy, he'll help us get there faster. Okay, sure, once. Slay is kidnapped by the king and tortured for most of a day, and they're like, oh no, we can still make it though. And I'm like, well, you mean you could just barely make it last time you were delayed, and now you can still just barely make it? You just have to find the right ship, and then the first ship that you find, captain that you can find, he's willing to take you. There are just a couple coincidences, and the timing stretch. Just as I was reading it, that was one of the things that stood out to me that was like, hey, no, that's a little no good. Okay, this is my last nitpick for a second. I hate the word cancer in a book unless it is a book that's like a real world. It's very similar to the real world, and they would have something like cancer. Like when I read the Trader Bar Cormorant, that was a cancer and it worked, but it just threw me off in that book. This book, there is a magic user who gets power, and he is they call him a cancer, and it's like, well, he doesn't like radioactive people and make them slowly die of cancer. They die quickly and then painfully, and they decay, or they're a plague bringer. There's a lot of other names that would have been much better for me besides cancer. So I did love the power sets. When they're fighting and they're using their power, I loved Zele's power. She's a reaper. She can call the spirits of the dead and kind of command them, but then they have to be sent on. That was very cool. The blood magic was very incredible. A huge burst of power, but for an incredibly steep price. And that was some good scenes in there. Another question is, I'm sorry, this sounds like I'm, bashing it, but I'm not. I did enjoy it. So when they get to Image, the city where they charge buckets, so much for the water, and they're like, okay, we just went to the next city and we have to find the Sunstone. Oh look, this guy, he's offering the Sunstone as a reward. That felt a little bit okay, they didn't really search for it. Oh, maybe they could have heard that this place had it and then go over there and then see it and been right, but they just happened to be in the right city at the right time to hear about it. And then when they're fighting on the ships, it's like a naval battle, free-for-all kind of battle royale, and she uses her magic, and nobody in the crowd is freaked out about it, since all magic's been gone for the past 10-ish years or more, 10 to 12 years, and it's nobody who was in charge of that was oh, you cheated, you used magic, that's illegal, or tried to stop them in any way. It just didn't hide it, didn't try to switch out a prize. Wouldn't have done them any good, of course, because they have magic, and the nobles and the people in charge wouldn't, but they didn't react poorly to it, which I feel like they would have if it was like, she just like summoned the spirits of the dead and they flew and destroyed that other boat, and the only thing we're going to call on it is that it was awesome. And it's like, yeah, it was awesome from my point of view, but from the point of view of the people who are in charge, they are not going to like that. So I also really liked the character growth of all the characters. I really thought that Zalay and Amory really changed and grew as we followed them through. Amory from the spoiled princess, and she was never really like 100% a spoiled princess, but and then she grew and changed, and now she is able to actually confront her father at the end and fight him. Zalay, she has no confidence in herself. She feels like she ruins everything. And then at the end, she's trying to do this ritual, and she can't remember it because the spell's been burned, because she kind of got a little angry and burned the scroll and destroyed it. So she just uses her power to circle up her ancestors and basically like reforge an entirely new connection, and that was awesome. I loved seeing that. I loved her going for that, and it was crazy. And then of course we see at the very end Amory getting magic, or having the white hair that shows that you have magic, and it's like, well, what are the implications here? Did she just give magic to everybody? Did it give it to just some people? It was very cool. Enan, I would have loved to see a little bit more character growth. I feel like we did see some on him, but he would just flip-flop back and forth. Oh yes, I'm totally against magic and I hate it, and I'm going to just kill you and save my sister and bring her back and everything will be fine. And then, oh no, I love magic and I love you and I want to be with you and do all this good stuff and we'll make a new one. And then, oh no, I have to listen to my horrible father, the king, and he felt very flip-floppy to me. And I don't want him to die from the end of the book where he might be, but I think he is for sure dead. So I am very excited to see what happens in the next book. One other thing that felt off at the very beginning of the book was the inclusion of so many new words. Now, this was not truly a bad thing, but in the very beginning, it threw me off how many words that didn't have an interpretation for me were there. And I didn't like that at the beginning, but as I got into it, it really felt like, Tori had just dropped us into her characters' lives, that we weren't being kind of like spoon-fed or like, here's this and here's what this means. It's like, here's the story, here's where you start. You're just going to have to catch up and keep up with it. And I did like that in the end, and it was great. A couple times she has some very great prose, especially I thought when she's in the dreamscape and when Zella is in the dreamscape with Enan, and he can kind of sense her soul. And there was the phrasing, the sea salt soul, and the descriptors that she used there, and the depiction of Zalay after having been tortured, I felt was very real and very in your face, but in a good way, and I really like that. So I think that's going to wrap up my discussion of Children of Blood and Bone. Thanks for listening, everybody. Again, and thanks to David Hilowitz for the intro and outro music. And if you have any questions or comments, please send them to libromancypod@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter sometimes at libromancypod. And I've got a calendar up on libromancy.podbean.com showing what books are coming up next. Should be up and going by the time you hear this. And please like and subscribe, of course, wherever you get your podcasts from. And remember to rekindle the magic of books.